The large doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened slowly. The room was huge and round. The walls were made of a shiny, dark metal that reflected the lights from the ceiling. In the middle of the room, there was a long table where the leaders of the galaxy sat. They were not humans. They were aliens from many different star systems. Some had green skin, some had blue skin, and some looked like giant insects. They were all waiting for the meeting to start. Today was a very important day. Today, they would decide if the humans could join the Galactic Federation. At the front of the room stood a tall alien named Vex. Vex was a Krell. The Krell were a strong and warlike race. Vex was very tall, almost 7 feet. He had thick, green scales all over his body and sharp teeth that showed when he spoke. He wore a silver uniform with many medals on his chest. He looked very dangerous and very proud. He stood next to a large screen. He looked at the alien leaders with a serious face. He was the judge for today, and he did not like humans. Sitting at a small table to the side were 2 humans. The first one was Captain Jin. He was a man of average height, with short black hair and dark eyes. He looked very calm. He wore a simple blue uniform that looked very plain compared to the shiny uniforms of the aliens. Next to him sat Dr. Sue. She was a scientist. She had long black hair tied in a ponytail and wore glasses. She was looking at a tablet in her hands, checking data. She looked calm too, but her hands were shaking just a little bit. This meeting was the most important moment in human history. The president of the council, an old alien with white fur, hit a small hammer on the table. The sound echoed in the big room. The room became quiet. Everyone looked at the president. "We are here today," the president said in a deep, slow voice, "to review the application of the human race. We must decide if they are ready to join the Galactic Federation. Commander Vex, you have the floor." Vex stepped forward. He smiled, but it was not a nice smile. It was a smile that showed he was ready to attack. "Thank you, President," Vex said. His voice was loud and rough. "I have looked at the humans. I have studied their bodies. I have studied their history. And my answer is no. Humans are weak. They are too weak to sit with us." The room was silent. Vex clicked a button on a remote. The large screen behind him turned on. It showed a picture of a human male standing next to a Krell warrior. The Krell warrior looked like a tank. The human looked like a stick. "Look at them," Vex said, pointing at the screen. "Humans have soft skin. It is pink and brown. It tears easily. They have no armor. They have no scales. They have no fur to protect them from the cold. If you hit a human, they bleed. If you cut a human, they die. They are fragile." Vex clicked the button again. A new picture appeared. It showed the bones of a human. "Their bones are made of calcium," Vex said, laughing softly. "They break. If a Krell shakes a human's hand too hard, the bones will break. They are not strong enough to build our ships. They are not strong enough to fight our wars. They are soft." The alien leaders started to whisper to each other. Many of them nodded. They agreed with Vex. To them, humans looked like a soft, weak species that would die easily in the galaxy. "Also," Vex continued, "look at their muscles. They are small. A human cannot lift a heavy rock. A human cannot run fast for a long time. They need sleep every night. They need water every day. They are high maintenance. They are not efficient. Why should we let a weak species join our strong federation? They will only be a burden." Vex turned to look at Captain Jin and Dr. So. He looked at them with no respect. He looked at them like they were bugs. "Captain Jin," Vex said, "stand up." Jin stood up slowly. He did not look angry. He did not look scared. He just looked at Vex. "Take off your jacket," Vex ordered. "Show the council your arms. Show them how thin you are." Jin looked at Dr. Sue. She gave him a small nod. Jin took off his blue jacket and put it on the chair. He was wearing a white t-shirt underneath. He stood still. His arms were not huge like the Krell's arms. He looked normal. He looked like a regular man. Vex laughed. "See? No muscle. No power. Just soft flesh. If I punched him, he would fly across the room." Vex walked over to Jin. Vex was huge. He stood right in front of Jin. He looked down at him. Human, you are physically inferior. You are weak. Admit it. The room was very quiet. Everyone was waiting for Jin to speak. They thought he would be scared. They thought he would beg. Jin looked up at Vex's big green eyes. He did not step back. He spoke in a clear, calm voice. Commander Vex, Jin said, you talk about strength. You talk about skin and bones, but you do not know everything about us. I know enough, Vex said, turning away. I know you are weak. I know Earth is a peaceful, boring planet. I know you are not warriors. That is where you are wrong, Dr. Su said. She stood up. She put her tablet down on the table. Her voice was steady now. She was not shaking anymore. You judged us by our appearance? That is a mistake. Vex turned to her. And who are you? A scientist? Do you have facts that change your weak bodies? I have facts, Dr. Su said. Commander, you looked at our muscles. You looked at our skin. But you did not look at where we live. You did not analyze the most important thing. And what is that? Vex asked, crossing his arms. Our food? Our water? No, Dr. Su said. Our air. The room became quiet again. The alien leaders looked confused. Why was air important? Air? Vex asked. He sounded confused. We analyzed your air. It is nitrogen and oxygen. Standard class M atmosphere. It is breathable. What does this have to do with strength? Dr. Su walked to the front of the room. She stood next to Vex. She looked very small next to the big Krell warrior. She looked at the council president. President, she said, the Krell homeworld has an atmosphere that is low in oxygen. It is mostly nitrogen and argon. It is a stable air. It is calm, correct? Vex nodded. Yes. Our air is clean. It does not destroy our cities. It is safe. Earth is different, Dr. Su said. Commander Vex said we are weak, but he did not look closely at the chemical composition of Earth's air. I request permission to display the full atmospheric analysis on the main screen. Vex waved his hand. Go ahead. Show us your air. It will not change anything. You are still soft. Dr. Su picked up the remote. She clicked a button. The screen changed. It showed a complex chart. There were bars and numbers. At the bottom, it said, Earth atmosphere composition. This is Earth. Dr. Turntem, Su said. She pointed to a large blue bar on the chart. This represents nitrogen, about 78%. That is normal. Then she pointed to a red bar. But this is oxygen, 21%. Vex sighed. Yes, oxygen. You need it to breathe. So what? Dr. Su turned to face the council. She had a serious look on her face. Most habitable worlds in the Federation have oxygen levels between 5 and 10%. Just enough to support life, but not enough to cause damage. Earth has double that amount, triple that of some worlds. And, Vex asked, he was getting annoyed. Oxygen, Dr. Su said slowly, is not just a gas. It is a corrosive agent. It is highly reactive. It causes iron to rust. It causes fruit to rot. It causes fire to burn. On Earth, the air itself is aggressive. The air tries to destroy us every time we take a breath. The alien leaders started to whisper again. They looked at the screen. They looked at the red bar. 21%. Dr. Su continued. When a human breathes, the oxygen enters our lungs. It goes into our blood. It touches our cells. It burns them. Oxidation. It is like a slow, microscopic fire inside our bodies. It ages us. It damages our DNA. If a Krell went to Earth without a special suit, the high oxygen would hurt your lungs. You would get sick. You would feel like you were burning from the inside. Vex laughed loudly. So, you admit it. Your planet is toxic. You live in a poison. This makes you even weaker. You are slowly dying just by breathing. Jin stood up straight. He buttoned his jacket. No, Commander, we are not dying. We are adapting. Dr. Su smiled. It was a small, knowing smile. That is the point, Commander. We live in a corrosive atmosphere. We breathe a gas that should kill us. We live on a planet where the air eats metal and stone. And yet, we are still here. We are not dead. We thrive. She walked closer to the council members. She looked them in the eyes. To survive in Earth's atmosphere, human biology had to change. We had to become tough. Our cells repair themselves much faster than yours. Our bodies are constantly fighting the air. We are in a war with our own planet every single second of our lives. We do not have armor on the outside like you, Vex. We have armor on the inside. Our cells are built to resist burning. We are built to resist poison. The room was silent now. The aliens were listening. They were starting to understand. Vex shook his head. You are making up stories. You are weak. I can crush you with one hand. Maybe, Jin said, but you are missing the big picture. You say we are weak because we have soft skin, but we have soft skin because we do not need thick scales to survive the air. We survive something much more dangerous. You see, Commander, you looked at our arms. You did not look at our history. You did not look at the fire. Fire? Vex asked. He narrowed his eyes. Dr. Sue, Jin said, show them the fire. Dr. Sue clicked the remote again. The screen changed. It showed a forest on Earth. It was burning. Huge orange flames reached into the sky. The smoke was black and thick. Fire, Dr. Sue said. On the Krell homeworld, can you have a fire like this? Vex looked at the screen. He took a step back. He did not like fire. No, our air is too stable. Fire is rare. It is small. We control it with machines. On Earth, Dr. Sue said, her voice rising, fire is everywhere. The air is so rich in oxygen that a single spark can destroy a forest. A single lightning strike can burn a city. Humans evolved on a planet covered in fire. The air allows fire to exist in a way that is impossible on your world. And humans, we learn to use it. Jin stepped forward. He looked at the council. You think we are weak, but imagine a species that lives in a world where the air wants to burn them. Imagine a species that heals from damage constantly because the air is damaging them. Imagine a species that grows up playing with fire because fire is part of their daily life. The president of the council leaned forward. His white fur moved as he breathed heavily. Are you saying your weakness is actually a strength? I am saying, Jin said, that you should analyze the data before you judge us. Commander Vex says we are not fit for the Federation. I say put our data into your computer. Analyze the human capacity for survival. Analyze what happens when a human is pushed to the limit. If you analyze the atmosphere, you will understand the human. Vex looked angry. This is nonsense. Science tricks. The computer will show they are weak. Then let the computer decide. Dr. Ten, Sue said. She held up her tablet. I have the data ready. I have the biological readings. I have the atmospheric history of Earth for the last 10,000 years. Let us upload it to the Federation Oracle. Let the Oracle tell us if humans are weak. The room waited. This was a big risk. If the Oracle computer said humans were weak, they would be rejected forever. They might even become slaves. But Jin and Dr. Sue stood tall. They were not afraid. President looked at Vex. Then he looked at Jin. Very well. The council will see the data. Commander Vex, do you agree to let the Oracle analyze the full human biological and atmospheric profile? Vex sneered. I agree. It will be funny to see the computer prove me right. Upload your data, human. Let us see how weak you really are. Dr. So connected her tablet to the main console. A blue light flashed on the screen. The Oracle began to whir. It was processing the data. Processing, a robotic voice said. Analyzing Earth atmosphere. Analyzing human biological reaction. Calculating threat level. Calculating survival index. The lights in the room dimmed as the computer used more power. The aliens watched the screen. They were waiting for the result. Jin stood with his hands behind his back. He watched the screen too. He knew what the data would show. He knew that the aliens looked at skin and bones, but they forgot to look at the air. They forgot that the toughest animals are the ones that survive the hardest environments. And Earth, with its burning air and constant fire, was the hardest environment of all. The screen started to show the results. The first line appeared. It was red. It was blinking. Analysis complete, the voice said. The room held its breath. Vex smiled, waiting for the word weak. But the next words changed everything. The computer spoke loud and clear. Warning. Atmospheric hazard detected. Biological species classification, hyperadaptive. Vex stopped smiling. He looked at the screen. What? Dr. Sue smiled. Now, Commander, she whispered, now you will see who we really are. The first part of the meeting was over. The data was in. The lie was exposed. The humans were not weak. They were something much worse. They were survivors of a toxic world, and the aliens were just starting to realize the mistake they had made. The large screen at the front of the council chamber glowed with a bright, intense light. The words, hyperadaptive, flashed in red, burning themselves into the retinas of every alien delegate in the room. The silence in the room was heavy. No one moved. No one spoke. The only sound was the low hum of the cooling fans inside the Oracle computer. Commander Vex stared at the screen. His mouth was slightly open. His sharp teeth, which he had shown so proudly just moments ago, were now hidden behind his lips. He looked confused. He looked angry. But mostly, he looked shocked. He turned his head slowly to look at Captain Jin and Dr. Sue. The humans stood quietly by their table. They did not look like conquerors. They did not look like monsters. They just looked like two people waiting for a bus. But the computer had called them hyperadaptive. Vex did not understand. Impossible, Vex said. His voice was not loud anymore. It was a whisper. He cleared his throat and tried to speak with authority again. There is a mistake. The computer is broken. Humans are soft. I checked their skin. I checked their bones. They are fragile. Dr. Sue stepped forward. She held her tablet in her hand like a shield. She looked calm. She looked at the president of the council, ignoring Vex for a moment. President, she said, the Oracle is not broken. It is showing you the truth. But the truth is hidden in the chemistry. You looked at our bodies, but you did not look at the environment that built us. Vex walked over to the screen. He pointed a clawed finger at the data streaming down. Explain this. Explain, hyperadaptive. What does this mean? It sounds like a lie to me. Dr. Sue turned to face him. It means, Commander, that we survive things that would kill you. Let us look at the data. The Oracle has finished scanning the Earth's atmosphere. Look at the second line on the screen. Everyone looked. The screen showed a chemical formula. It said, O2, molecular oxygen. Next to it there was a number, 21%. 21%, Dr. Sue said. That is the amount of oxygen in our air. Commander Vex, please tell the Council how much oxygen is in the air on your home planet, the Krell homeworld. Vex puffed out his chest. He was happy to talk about his great planet. Our world is perfect. The air is stable. It is clean. We have 6% oxygen, maybe 7% in the summer. That is enough for life. Any more is dangerous. Dangerous, Dr. Sue repeated. She nodded. Yes, you are right. Oxygen is dangerous. It is a very reactive element. Do you know what happens when you have high oxygen, Commander? It burns, Vex said. It makes fires. Exactly, Dr. Sue said. She clicked a button on her tablet. The screen changed. It showed a picture of a piece of metal. It was rusty and orange. This is oxidation. This is what oxygen does to metal. It eats it. It destroys it. It turns strong iron into dust. Now, imagine what it does to soft flesh. The alien delegates looked at the picture of the rusty metal. They started to look uncomfortable. They understood chemistry. They knew that oxygen was corrosive. On Earth, Dr. Sue continued, the air has 3 times more oxygen than the Krell homeworld. 3 times. The air on Earth is aggressive. It is constantly trying to break down biological matter. It is trying to rust us from the inside out. Every time a human takes a breath, we inhale this corrosive gas. It enters our lungs. It goes into our blood. It touches every cell in our body. She paused to let the information sink in. The room was very quiet. If a Krell went to Earth without a suit, Dr. Sue said, looking straight at Vex, what would happen to you? Vex hesitated. He looked at his science officer, a small alien with big eyes. The science officer looked scared. He whispered something to Vex. Vex's eyes went wide. I would burn, Vex admitted. My lungs would hurt. My cells would be damaged. The oxygen would act like a slow poison. It is too rich. It is too strong. Correct, Dr. Sue said. You would suffer from oxidative stress. Your body is not made for that kind of chemical attack. But humans live there. We live in that chemical attack. We breathe it every day. We sleep in it. We run in it. We fight in it. Captain Jen stepped up next to Dr. Sue. He looked at the council. He spoke in a clear voice. Commander Vex said we are weak because we have no armor, Jen said. He said we are weak because we are soft. But he is wrong. We are soft because we have to be. If we had hard shells like you, Commander, the oxygen would react with the shell. It would make it brittle. It would make it rot. Soft skin allows us to shed cells. It allows us to heal. We are not weak. We are just constantly repairing ourselves. The screen changed again. It showed a human cell under a microscope. It looked like a busy factory. There were bright lights moving around. Look at a human cell, Dr. Sue said. The Oracle analysis shows that human cells have a defense mechanism that is 3 times stronger than any other species in the Federation. We have antioxidants. We have repair enzymes. Our bodies are in a constant state of war. We are fighting the air itself. The delegates started to whisper again. But this time, they were not laughing. They were looking at Jin and So with a new feeling. It was not respect yet. It was fear. You call us weak, Dr. So said. But imagine a creature that lives in a soup that should kill it. Imagine a creature that thrives in a toxic cloud. That is a human. We are built to survive poison. We are built to survive damage. We are built to survive. Vex shook his head. He did not want to believe it. No, this is just biology. This is just surviving the air. It does not make you strong warriors. It does not make you fast. It makes you cockroaches. You survive, but you are still pests. Jen smiled. It was a cold smile. You are right, Commander. We are survivors, but you still don't understand the power of oxygen. You still don't understand what 21% means for the rest of the galaxy. Dr. Sue clicked the remote again. The screen went black for a second. Then, a video started playing. It was a video from Earth. It showed a forest. It was nighttime. Suddenly, a bright light flashed. A lightning bolt struck a tree. In seconds, the tree was on fire. The fire spread to the bushes. Then it spread to the next tree. Within minutes, the whole forest was an inferno. The flames were huge. They were orange and red and angry. They roared like a monster. Fire, Dr. Sue said. The great chemical reaction. Fire needs 3 things: heat, fuel, and oxygen. On your world, Commander, with only 6% oxygen, can you make a fire like this? Vex looked at the screen. He watched the trees burning. He watched the heat shimmering in the air. No, the fire would be small. It would be slow. It would die quickly. The air is not rich enough to feed it. On Earth, Dr. Dassis, Sue said, the air is rich. The oxygen feeds the fire. It makes it burn hotter. It makes it burn faster. A fire on Earth is a monster that eats everything. It is destruction on a massive scale. And humans learn to control it. The video changed. Now it showed a human. A man was sitting by a campfire. He was cooking meat. He reached into the fire with a stick. He pulled out a burning log. He blew on it. The sparks flew into the air. He looked calm. He looked like he was holding the sun in his hand. Humans are the only species in this room that plays with fire, Dr. Seuss said. We cook our food with it. We heat our homes with it. We use it to clear land. We use it to make weapons. We live with fire every single day. It is our tool. It is our friend. The alien delegates looked horrified. They came from worlds where fire was a rare disaster. They came from worlds where fire was the enemy. But humans treated fire like a pet. You see, Dr. Seuss said, our atmosphere made us tough. It forced us to become resilient, but it also gave us a weapon. The weapon of combustion. We can burn things. We can burn them fast. We can burn them hot. If you fight a human, you are not just fighting a biological entity. You are fighting a creature that was born in a chemical storm. You are fighting a creature that can use the air itself as a weapon. Vex looked at his hands. He thought about his soldiers. He thought about their thick armor. But armor melts. He knew that. He knew that fire was the great equalizer. If humans had fire, and if humans had the will to use it. This is all very interesting, Vex said, trying to sound brave. But you are still flesh. A plasma bolt will kill you. A knife will cut you. You are not invincible. Nobody is invincible, Captain Jin said. But we are not as fragile as you think. The Oracle analysis is still running. Look at the screen. The Oracle computer had processed the atmospheric data. Now it was processing the biological data. A new line appeared on the screen. It said, Human adrenal gland analysis. Dr. Sue looked at the screen. She nodded. This is the final part of the atmospheric impact. Because we live in a high-stress environment, high oxygen, constant oxidation. The threat of fire, our bodies have developed a way to ignore the damage. We call it adrenaline. Adrenaline, the computer voice said, is a hormone. In humans, it is produced in massive quantities during stress. It shuts down pain. It increases blood flow. It turns off the body's safety limits. Safety limits? Vex asked. What do you mean? Most species have safety limits, Dr. Sue explained. Your brain tells your muscles to stop before they tear. Your brain tells your body to rest when it hurts. Humans have this too. But adrenaline turns it off. When a human is in danger, the chemical reaction in our brain changes. We become blind to pain. We become stronger. We become faster. She looked at Vex. We call it the fight or flight response. But on Earth, with the oxygen fueling our blood, it is more like a fight and destroy response. We can run through fire. We can fight with broken bones. We can lift cars to save our families. We can ignore the burning in our lungs to chase our enemies. The room was dead silent. The idea of a creature that ignored pain was terrifying to the Federation delegates. They valued logic. They valued safety. They valued self-preservation. The idea of a biological suicide switch that made you a monster in battle was madness. You were saying, the president said slowly, that the atmosphere made you insane? No, Jin said. The atmosphere made us desperate, and desperate creatures are the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. We didn't evolve to live in a paradise. We evolved to live in a paradise. And now, you have let us out of the pot. Vex looked at the humans. He looked at Jin. He looked at Dr. So. He saw them differently now. He didn't see soft pink skin. He saw a chemical bomb waiting to explode. He saw a species that had been forged in fire and poison. He saw a species that didn't just survive the atmosphere, they conquered it. The Oracle is still calculating, Dr. Sue said. It is calculating the threat level of a human soldier compared to a Krell soldier. The screen showed a bar graph. One bar was green. It said Krell soldier. It was high. The other bar was red. It said human soldier. It was flickering. It was going up and down. Vex watched the bar. He wanted the green bar to be higher. He wanted his people to be stronger. But the red bar kept climbing. It went past the green bar. It went past the top of the graph. It hit the edge of the screen. TH label, extreme. Recommendation, do not engage in ground combat. The words flashed on the screen. Vex felt his knees shake. He quickly sat down in his chair. He looked at the floor. He could not look at the whore. He could not look at the humans. The president stood up. He looked old and tired. This council needs a break. We must discuss this new information. The atmosphere data, it changes things. We will reconvene in 1 hour. Jin nodded. He put his jacket back on. He buttoned it up slowly. He looked at Vex, who was staring at the floor. His face pale green. Commander, Jin said softly, check the air in your ship. Make sure the oxygen levels are low. You wouldn't want to get burned. Jin and Dr. Sue turned around and walked towards the exit. The doors hissed open. The two humans walked out of the council chamber. They left behind a room full of terrified aliens. They left behind a commander who had learned a hard lesson. Never judge a book by its cover, and never judge a species by its skin, because under the skin, the humans were made of something much harder. They were made of the stuff that burns. As the doors closed, the Oracle computer hummed one last time. A final message appeared on the screen, just for the council members to see. It was a warning from the human database. It was a simple quote: "The meek shall inherit the earth, but the strong shall inherit the stars. Do not make us choose." The council chamber felt cold. The 1-hour break was over. The alien delegates walked back into the room slowly. They were not chatting or laughing like before. They walked to their seats with their heads down. They looked scared. The large screen at the front of the room was still on. It still showed the red bar graph. It still showed the words threat level, extreme. No one wanted to look at it. Commander Vex sat in his chair. He looked smaller than before. He was not standing tall. He was slumping. His green scales looked dull. He stared at the table in front of him. He did not look at Captain Jin or Dr. Su when they walked back into the room. The humans walked to their table and sat down. They looked calm. They looked patient. The president of the council stood up. He looked very old. His white fur was shaking a little bit. He hit the small hammer on the table, but he did not hit it hard. The sound was soft. "The council is back in session," the president said. His voice was tired. "We have looked at the data. We have seen the atmospheric analysis, but we still have questions. Just because humans come from a hard planet, does that mean you are a danger to us?" Vex stood up slowly. He took a deep breath. He knew he had to say something. He was the military leader. He had to be strong, but his voice cracked a little when he started talking. "President," Vex said, "I do not believe the computer. The numbers are wrong. A species cannot be that strong just because of air. It is impossible. I have fought many wars. I have killed many enemies. Strength comes from muscle. Strength comes from armor. It does not come from breathing." He turned to look at Jin. Vex narrowed his eyes. He was trying to find his anger again. He wanted to prove that the humans were tricking them. "You talk about oxygen," Vex said. "You talk about fire. But you are still flesh. If I shoot you, you die. If I stab you, you bleed. Your hyper-adaptive body is just a story. I want to see the truth. I want to see the data about your history." Dr. Su stood up. She adjusted her glasses. She looked at Vex. She did not look scared of him. "You want to see our history?" Dr. Su asked. "Are you sure, Commander? History can be very frightening." "Show me," Vex shouted. "Show me your wars. Show me your weakness. I know you fight each other. The Oracle scanned your databanks. It says you humans kill each other all the time. You are a violent race. You are not united. That is your weakness. If you fight each other, you cannot fight us." The alien delegates started to whisper again. This made sense to them. If a species fights itself, it is weak. It is divided. Dr. Su nodded. "It is true. Humans have fought many wars. We have a long history of violence. But you are looking at it the wrong way, Commander. You think our violence makes us weak. I will show you why our violence makes us strong." She picked up the remote. She pointed it at the screen. "Oracle," Dr. Su said. "Load file, human evolutionary history. Focus on the era of the wounded survivor." The screen flickered. A picture appeared. It was not a graph. It was a picture of a primitive human. The human was dirty. He had long hair. He was holding a spear made of wood. He had a deep cut on his leg. He was bleeding. But he was standing. He was snarling at a large animal, a giant lion. "Look at this," Dr. Su said. "This is one of our ancestors. He is hurt. He is bleeding. Most animals, when they are hurt, they run away. They hide. They wait to heal. But the human does not run. Why?" Vex looked at the picture. "He is stupid. He will die." "No," Dr. Su said. "He will not die. This is the key to human biology. On Earth, the atmosphere causes damage. The oxygen damages our cells. The sun burns our skin. The wind dries our eyes. We are always in pain. We are always hurting. So our brains changed. We learned to live with pain. We learned to work through the damage." She clicked the remote again. A video started. It showed a modern human, a soldier. He was running through mud. Bullets were flying through the air. Explosions were happening everywhere. Look closely at the soldier, Dr. Arm, Sue said. She pointed at the man's arm. He has been shot. He is bleeding. But look at his face. The camera zoomed in on the soldier's face. He was not crying. He was not screaming. He was gritting his teeth. He was focused. He raised his gun and fired back. He has a hole in his body, Dr. Sue said. His body is broken, but his mind is not broken. The adrenaline we spoke of earlier, it is more than just energy. It is pain relief. It is a switch. When a human is in danger, the pain turns off. We do not feel the damage. We only feel the need to survive. We only feel the need to win. Vex shook his head. That is not special. My soldiers are brave too. They can take pain. Can they? Dr. Sue asked. Let us ask the Oracle. Oracle, compare the pain tolerance of a Krell soldier versus a human soldier. The computer hummed. The screen showed two brains. One was green for Krell. One was red for human. The green brain showed pain signals lighting up bright white when the body was hurt. The red brain showed the same signals, but then a dark cloud covered them. The pain signals disappeared. The human brain releases natural chemicals, the Oracle voice said. Endorphins and dopamine. These chemicals block the pain. They create a feeling of euphoria. Humans feel a high when they are in combat or in danger. They become addicted to the stress. It makes them fight harder when they should be dying. The room was silent. The aliens looked at each other. They could not imagine liking pain. They could not imagine fighting while dying. You see, Dr. Sue said, we do not just survive the atmosphere, we survive ourselves. We survive injury. If you shoot a human, you do not stop them. You just make them angry. You just trigger the switch. A wounded human is the most dangerous thing in the galaxy because they have nothing left to lose. Captain Jin stood up. He walked to the center of the room. He looked at Vex. Commander, Jin said, you asked about our wars. You think fighting each other makes us weak. You are wrong. Fighting each other makes us experts. We have practiced war for thousands of years. We have practiced killing. We have practiced tactics. Your people, the Krell, you are strong. But who do you fight? You fight weak races. You fight easy targets. You have forgotten what a real war looks like. Jin's voice became harder. We fight humans. We fight enemies who think like us. Enemies who heal like us. Enemies who refuse to die. Every war we fought made us smarter. It made our weapons sharper. It made our strategies better. We are not divided, we are honed. We are a sword that has been rubbed against a stone for 10,000 years. And now we are very, very sharp. Vex stepped back. He looked at Jin's eyes. He saw something there. It was not hate. It was not fear. It was a cold, hard certainty. Vex realized that Jin was not bragging. He was stating a fact. You say we are violent, Jin continued. Yes, we are. But look at the data. Look at what happens when we stop fighting each other and look at the stars. Look at what we did to our own planet. The screen changed. It showed the Earth from space. It was blue and green and white. It looked beautiful. But then red dots appeared on the surface. They were cities. We changed the planet, Jin said. We cut down forests. We built mountains of steel. We changed the rivers. We burned the oil. We made the air dirty. We did all of this in just a few hundred years. We reshape worlds. We do not adapt to the world. We make the world adapt to us. The alien delegates gasped. Changing a planet was considered a high-level technology. It was something only the most advanced races could do. You live in a metal box in the sky, Jin said to the council. You live in a station where the air is perfect, the temperature is perfect. You are soft. You have forgotten nature. We live on Earth. We fight the weather. We fight the animals. We fight the gravity. We dominate our world. If you bring us into the Federation, you are not getting a weak race of farmers. You are getting a race of conquerors. The only question is, do you want us on your side, or do you want us as your enemy? Vex looked at the president. He looked panicked. This is a threat. He is threatening us. This proves they are dangerous. We must destroy them now. Dr. Sue shook her head. It is not a threat, Commander. It is a warning. We do not want to destroy you. We want to join you. We want to trade. We want to learn. But if you push us, if you treat us like slaves, we will push back. And as you can see from the data, we push back very hard." The president closed his eyes. He was thinking. The council was shaking. They were afraid. They had spent so long thinking humans were cute little animals. Now they realized the humans were wolves hiding in sheep's clothing. "The data is clear," the president said. "Human biology is aggressive. Human history is violent. But aggression is not evil. Violence is not always bad. Sometimes you need a weapon. Sometimes you need a soldier who will not stop." Vex slammed his hand on the table. "No, you are listening to their lies. I challenge them. I challenge them human to a test of strength. Right now, if he is so strong, let him fight me. If he wins, I will believe the data. If I win, they are rejected forever." The room gasped again. A physical challenge was an old tradition. It was rare, but it was allowed by the laws of the Federation. Jean looked at Vex. He did not blink. He took off his jacket. He put it on the chair. He rolled up the sleeves of his white shirt. "All right, Commander," Jin said calmly. "Let us see what your strength does against a creature that breathes poison." Jin walked to the open space in the middle of the room. Vex smiled. He cracked his knuckles. He was huge. He had claws. He thought he would crush the human in 1 second. But Dr. Sue did not look worried. She looked at her tablet. She whispered something to herself. "Oxygen levels," she whispered, "set to 21%. Combat mode engaged." She pressed a button on her tablet. The vents in the room hissed. A new gas started to flow into the chamber. It was a test. It was a taste of home. The air in the room was changing. It was becoming Earth air. Vex took a deep breath. He coughed. "What is this?" "The air tastes sharp." "That is the smell of Earth, Commander," Dr. Seuss said. "That is the smell of burning. That is the smell of war. Now you are in our world." Jin stood ready. He did not get into a fighting stance like a boxer. He just stood there, relaxed. But his eyes were focused. He breathed in the rich air. His lungs filled with the corrosive oxygen. His blood pumped faster. His cells woke up. He felt a familiar burn in his chest. It felt good. It felt like home. Vex roared and charged at the human. He was fast for a big alien. He swung his massive fist at Jin's head. The aliens screamed. They thought Jin would die. But Jin did not die. He did not even fall down. He moved his head just a little bit. The fist missed his face by an inch. The wind from the punch blew Jin's hair. Jin stepped forward. He did not punch Vex. He kicked him. He kicked Vex right on the knee. Scrack. The sound was loud. It echoed in the room. Vex screamed. He fell to the ground. He grabbed his knee. "My leg!" Vex yelled. "You broke my leg!" Jin stood over him. He looked down at the giant alien. "You have thick skin, Commander. You have strong muscles. But your bones are not used to impact. You are used to low gravity. You are used to perfect air. Your body is fragile because it has never been tested." Vex tried to stand up. He tried to swing his claw at Jin. Jin caught the claw with his hand. The skin on Jin's hand tore. It bled, but Jin did not let go. He squeezed Vex's hand. He squeezed hard. The adrenaline was flowing. He did not feel the pain. Vex looked into Jin's eyes. He saw the monster. He saw the predator. He saw the product of 1 billion years of death and fire on a toxic planet. "Yield," Jin said. His voice was a low growl. Vex looked at the president. He looked at his knee. He looked at the blood on Jin's hand that Jin was ignoring. Vex tapped the floor with his good hand. He tapped 3 times. "He yield," Vex whispered. Jin let go of the hand. He stepped back. He breathed heavily. He looked at the council. He wiped the blood from his hand on his pants. He picked up his jacket and put it back on. "The demonstration is over," Jin said. "Part 3 of the assessment is complete. We have shown you our atmosphere. We have shown you our biology. We have shown you our strength. Are there any more questions?" The president stood up. He looked at Jin with wide eyes. He looked at the defeated Krell commander on the floor. He looked at Dr. Sue, who was smiling. "No," the president said. "No more questions. We have seen enough." The room was dead silent. The humans were not weak. The humans were not pets. The humans were the new wolves in the galaxy. And the wolves were hungry. The medical team ran into the council chamber. They were small aliens in white suits. They rushed to Commander Vex, who was still lying on the floor holding his knee. He was groaning in pain. The medical team put a silver device over his leg. It beeped, and Vex stopped groaning, but he looked pale. He looked at Captain Jin with pure fear in his eyes. He did not look angry anymore. He looked like a prey animal that had just escaped a trap. The medical team lifted Vex onto a floating bed. They carried him out of the room. The doors hissed shut behind them. The silence in the room was heavy. It felt like the air itself was pressing down on the delegates. Captain Jin stood in the middle of the room. He straightened his jacket. He wiped a small drop of blood from his lip. He looked calm, like he had just finished a light exercise. The president of the council stood up. His hands were shaking. He held onto the edge of the table to steady himself. He looked at Jin, and then he looked at Dr. Sue. "That was," the president started to say, but he stopped. He had to swallow before he could speak again. "That was unexpected. You defeated a Krell commander in seconds. The Krell are the strongest warriors in the sector. They have dense muscle," Jin said, "but they have weak joints. They have slow reflexes. They are used to fighting other heavy things. They are not used to fighting things that are fast and do not stop." A delegate from the back of the room stood up. This delegate was tall and thin, with blue skin and a long neck. He was from a race called the Serpus. They were known for strategy and logic, not fighting. "This is a trick," the Serpus delegate said. His voice was high and raspy. "You used a sneak attack. You used a strange movement. In a real war, you would not have the chance to fight hand to hand. In space, we fight with ships. We fight with lasers. We fight with technology. Your physical strength means nothing in the cold void of space." Dr. Sue walked to the front of the room. She stood next to the large screen. She nodded at the Serpus delegate. "You are correct," Dr. Sue said. "Hand-to-hand fighting is only a small part of war. We are talking about survival. We are talking about what happens when technology fails. But since you mentioned technology, let us talk about the atmosphere again." She clicked the remote. The screen changed. It showed a simple picture of a planet from space. It was blue and green. It looked peaceful. "You look at Earth," Dr. Seuss said, "and you see a planet with water. You see a planet with plants. You see a nice place to live. But you are missing the invisible layer, the atmosphere." She zoomed the picture in. A red line appeared around the planet. "This line represents the density of the air," Dr. Sue explained. "Earth's gravity is strong. It pulls the air down tight. The air is thick. It is heavy. When a human builds a machine to fly or to go into space, they have to fight this thick air. They have to push through it." The Serpus delegate nodded. "Yes, atmospheric drag. We know this. It makes launching ships harder. It wastes fuel. This is a disadvantage." "It is a disadvantage for efficiency," Dr. Sue agreed. "But it is an advantage for engineering. Humans build ships that are tough. We build engines that are powerful. We have to punch a hole through the sky just to leave our planet. Your ships, built on low-gravity worlds with thin air, are fragile. They're like paper airplanes. Human ships are like bricks. We have to be. If we build weak ships, the air would crush them or the gravity would pull them down." She clicked the remote again. The screen showed a comparison. On the left was a standard Federation shuttle. It was sleek and pretty. On the right was a human heavy-lift rocket. It was ugly, covered in pipes and metal. "The human vessel looks crude," Dr. Perrette Sue said. "It looked primitive, but look at the hull thickness. Look at the engine power. This ship can survive storms that would tear your shuttle apart. This ship can take a hit and keep flying. We build our machines the same way we build our bodies to survive damage." The delegates looked at the images. They understood machines. They understood engineering. "But the atmosphere does more than just make us build strong ships," Dr. Sue continued. "It changes how we see the universe. Earlier, I told you about fire. I showed you a forest burning. Now, I want to show you something else. The screen changed to a black background. There was nothing on the screen but darkness. This is space, Dr. Sue said. It is dark. It is cold. It is empty. To most of you, space is normal. You evolved on moons with thin air. You are used to the quiet. You are used to the vacuum. She paused for effect. But to a human, she said slowly, space is terrifying. We love our air. We love the pressure on our skin. When we go into space, we have to take our atmosphere with us. We live in tin cans. We are soft creatures inside hard shells. We are vulnerable. The Service delegate laughed. So you admit it. You are afraid of space. You are not meant for the stars. We were afraid, Jin said, stepping forward. We were afraid, but we went anyway. That is the point. We looked at the impossible vacuum, and we packed a bag of air, and we jumped. We went to our moon. It has no air. It has no life. It is a dead rock. We went there in a ship made of metal and foil. We walked on the dust. We looked back at Earth, a blue marble in the dark, and then we came home. Jin looked around the room. He made eye contact with the strongest delegates. We did not evolve for space, Jin said. We forced ourselves into it. We conquered the atmosphere first, and then we conquered the void. You speak of technology? We built technology to survive places where we should have died. Your technology makes life easier. Our technology keeps us alive. There is a difference. Your tech is a luxury. Our tech is a life support system. The room was quiet. The Service delegate sat down. He did not have an answer. Let us talk about the weapon, Dr. Sue said. Her voice changed. It became colder. The Service delegate mentioned lasers. He mentioned ships. He thinks that because we have primitive-looking ships, we have weak weapons. But he forgot the first lesson of the atmosphere. He forgot about oxygen. The screen showed a picture of a human city. It was at night. Lights were everywhere. We have power, Dr. Seuss said. We have electricity. We have nuclear energy. But we also have chemistry. The air we breathe is a fuel. Do you know what happens when you mix oxygen with other chemicals? You get explosions. You get thrust. You get fire. The screen showed a test launch of a missile. It was a simple weapon, but it moved incredibly fast. We have been fighting on Earth for a long time, Dr. Seuss said. We learned to make things burn. We learned to make things explode. Our gunpowder weapons use the air to propel bullets. Our rockets use the air to help burn fuel. We are masters of combustion. We are masters of fire. She zoomed in on the explosion of the missile. In space, you use plasma. You use beams. They are clean. They are precise. But they are hot. They are energy. Do you know what happens when a high-energy beam hits a human ship? The heat dissipates. Our ships are designed to handle the heat of re-entry. We fly through fire every time we come home. Your lasers? They are just a warm breeze compared to the friction of Earth's atmosphere. This was a lie, or at least an exaggeration, but it was a good lie. It made the delegates think. If human ships could withstand the burning heat of atmospheric entry, could they withstand plasma weapons? You are trying to scare us, the Service delegate said. You are bluffing. We have shields. We have advanced armor. And we have grit, Jun said. And we have numbers. And we have the will to use them. But I want to go back to the atmosphere for a moment. There is one more thing. One more effect of living on Earth that you have not considered. Jin walked closer to the delegates. He lowered his voice. It sounded like a growl. The atmosphere is a shield, Jin said. A thick, heavy blanket. When a meteor hits Earth, it burns up. The air protects us. When solar radiation hits Earth, the magnetic field and the air protect us. We live inside a fortress. We live in a bubble of safety that tries to kill us at the same time. He looked at the Service delegate. If you attack Earth, you are not attacking a planet. You are attacking a fortress. You cannot just bombard us from orbit. The debris will burn up. The radiation will scatter. You have to come down. You have to enter the atmosphere. You have to come into our world. Jin smiled. It was not a friendly smile. And when you come down, you will be in the thick air. You will be in the gravity. You will be in the heat. You will be heavy. Your soldiers will be slow. Your ships will be sluggish. You will be in our element. You will be in the place where we have lived for 1,000,000 years. You will be the fish out of water, and we will be the sharks. The room was silent. The logic was undeniable. The Federation races lived on easy planets. Low gravity, thin air, they were optimized for space. Humans were optimized for heavy gravity and thick air. In a ground war on Earth, the invaders would be crushed by their own weight. They would suffocate on the oxygen. They would burn in the fires.
Thanks for watching my video. Like, subscribe and share.